Greetings, fellow Terrans. Professor McKee here with a tutorial for Terra Invicta. We finance professors have hobbies, and one of mine is playing Terra Invicta. I'm creating a collection of tips I've learned while playing this game, in case you want to have a study break. And today's guide is about fighting battles in space. Someone asked on a recent tutorial of mine, a relatively recent tutorial, how to handle larger fleet battles. And, well, if one person is confused, usually many other people are too. At least that's how it works in the classroom. So I have a previous video which I went over torpedoes for a larger battle, but there's a second type of fleet you might bring, and I'm going to go over that too. Since this question is about large fleet battles, this is not going to be a small engagement where you shoot down a surveillance destroyer. These are big ones where the aliens are bringing large fleets, and you're bringing large fleets too. So there are two types of combat doctrines that are going to be effective. There's the torpedoes, which I covered in the previous video, or a hybrid of magnetic and either lasers or torpedoes, which is what we'll be covering in this video. Typically, we're going to be starting out with torpedoes, and then once you get good enough tech, and once you have a good enough reason to go on the offense with your drives, being able to actually move ships on an interplanetary transfer, that's when you would start doing the hybrid doctrine, at least for offensive ships. I often just stick with torpedoes when I'm defending my orbitals on Earth and so on, because they work great. So as I said, I have the previous video that covers the pure torpedo doctrine. This one is going to be a combination of magnetic and laser ships. But before we get into the details and design our ships, I'm going to go over just how this doctrine works. So, the aliens tend to bring two types of ships against you. Either they bring a bigger, slower, less maneuverable ship that drifts towards your battle line and then just starts shooting at you and just breaks through your nose armor by sheer weight of offensive power, and they also bring both these types of ships to you in the same battle, and they'll have what are often called flankers. These are smaller, faster, much more maneuverable ships that flank your battle line to hit your sides and rear, because your side and your rear tend to not be armored very much. So our ships with the magnetic weapons, those are for dealing with the big ships. The mag weapons are, well, they're not slow. Nothing in space is slow, but they're slower than the instantaneous attack of the laser, and the small ships can dodge a magnetic weapon. The big ships don't have the ability to dodge. So the magnetic weapons will kill the big ships, and they have enough damage to break through the heavier armor. The laser weapons, those ships will be dealing with the flankers. Lasers have a tough time getting through thick armor, but when the flankers start to maneuver, they will be flipping their ship around to burn their drive, and they don't have a lot of armor on their sides and rear either, so the laser can slam them in the side and destroy them pretty easily. And even if they're able to flip around and face their nose toward your laser ships, well, they need to be light and to have enough delta V and acceleration to do the flanking, so their armor is going to be lower, and the lasers will be able to get through pretty quickly. Now, there's a third type of ship you could use, which is a point defense ship, a pure point defense ship. I'm not certain how necessary it is, because as you'll see, every ship will have one point defense, but if you wanted to add a pure point defense ship to this doctrine, you could do that. Now, an ideal battle here is the battle will start, your magnetic ships will fire at the big ships, will distract their larger lasers and force them to use them as point defense, and eventually destroy them. Meanwhile, the lasers will pick off all the small ships and then help the magnetic weapon ships finish off the remaining capital ships. This actually works really well. A well-designed fleet with good decisions by you, the commander, can win very lopsided battles even if you're outnumbered. So you don't need to bring a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 ratio. The aliens can bring a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 ratio against you, and you can still win and not lose a single ship. Although I might lose some. Okay, now let's get into the ship design. So I'll be right back once my save here loads. Okay, so I have the ship designer all set up, and let's get started with designing our magnetic and laser ships. So unlike the missile doctrine types of ships, the magnetic and laser hybrid doctrine requires us to have more advanced tech. So we need a larger ship. We also need, you need at least up to level 3 railguns or better. So tier 2 or tier 3 coil guns. Tier 1 coil guns is not really much of an upgrade from the tier 3 railguns. And for lasers, you'll want at least green arc lasers. Again, if you can get better, that's good. So if you can get green phasers or ultraviolet arc or ultraviolet phasers, those would all work better than just green arc. And then finally, we need a ship class that's larger because we want a nose weapon. These nose weapons are big. They do a lot of damage. That's what you want. So as this is a fairly early game offensive ship, probably your first offensive fleet, we're going to go up to the 3 mission control tier, which is cruisers, and battleships. These are light enough that the drive that I'm thinking of will actually work. And we want as big of a nose hardpoint as we can get. Battleship has 2, cruiser has 2, battlecruiser has 3. So these ships will be battlecruisers. And I'll start by building the magnetic one, but we'll do the laser afterwards. And this is our initial ship, so as we get better engines and better drives and the ability to actually push bigger things, we can upgrade to the laser or dreadnought tier. Laser has a 4 nose. Dreadnought has only 3, so you'd prefer lancers. Sorry, not lasers. And I guess Titan has 4 too, but Titans are really big. In my experience, it's not really worth the extra expense to build Titans, but I mean you can do it if you want to style on the aliens. It's fun to do that. But for us, we'll be building the battlecruiser. And this is a magnetic one, so we're going to go to magnetic weapons for nose weapons. And I'm going to use the earliest feasible one, which is the heavy railgun. I'm going to change attack, make sure it's on attack mode, because I want it to be targeting. This will be more important for the lasers. So I could also put in coil guns. The siege coil guns are better. They are slower. Their muzzle velocity is slower than a regular coil by quite a bit. But look at the size. 177 tons. 1.1 thousand tons. These things are slow, but they are humongous projectiles, and it takes a long time for point defense to kill them. So despite them being slow, they're still really hard for point defense to handle because they're so big. It takes so many point defense hits to kill a single siege coil projectile. And it doesn't matter that they're slow when you're shooting at big capital ships that can't maneuver. Okay, so that's my final upgrade. That's the best possible magnetic weapon I could use. I'm not there yet. I'm building a small one. For my whole weapons, I've got 2 slots here, and this is entirely point defense. I don't need to use these to do offense. I'm just going to use them to protect this ship and its fellow ships in the squadron. Now, for point defense, we have 3 basic choices. You have the 40 millimeter autocannon, which works great against magnetic weapons and doesn't work against missiles. You have point defense, which actually I should probably use point defense arc, not point defense phaser. But if you can upgrade the phaser, obviously that's better. And lasers are sort of mediocre. They're okay at both missiles and magnetic weapons. And they also are better at protecting their fellow ships because they have more range. And there's the particle point defense. And these guys are exclusively good against missiles, but they are really good against missiles. Now, generally, my experience is that the aliens almost always bring a bunch of magnetic weapons. So I pretty much always put in the autocannon. And these guys I change to defense mode. So they only fire at projectiles that are threatening us. I don't want them used as an offensive weapon and potentially getting jammed by ECM because they don't do much damage. They're really just here for point defense. And it's up to you if you prefer to have a particle beam to protect yourself against missiles or accept less defense against missiles but also have lasers. I'll go with lasers. For utility modules, I have 4 utility modules. Targeting computer is mandatory. I am firing at the aliens. I do not want my rail cannon being jammed and then I'm not able to actually deal with their heavy ships. That would be bad. Unlike the torpedo and missile ships, I need a heat sink because this shot generates heat. And I will quickly burn... if my radiator gets destroyed or I have to retract them to protect it, this ship can become just a floating brick and not do anything because it's overheating. So I like using lithium, but like any heatsink will be fine. Lithium is just pretty good in terms of weight. And then for your remaining utility modules, there are some options. You could put in ECM. I like doing this. Where is it? Yes. Just keep in mind, ECM only works against the aliens if you research an additional project that says it's anti-alien ECM. If you don't get that project researched, then ECM is useless and you don't want to put it in. You could also put in a magazine. This will give your magnetic weapon a larger ammo supply. You don't have to do it, but this will give you greater endurance if you're fighting multiple battles. Typically, I don't think it's necessary, but if you want to, go for it. You could put in a laser engine or advanced laser engine. This will give you a bonus to your laser point defense, so they'll fire sooner. So they'll have a larger range because their laser is more powerful. Of course, if you have particle defense instead of laser, don't use this. It doesn't help you. And then the last kind of good options to have are, there's a number of utility modules that either give you bonus to thrust. Well, this one's for fusion drives, which we don't have. But if you're doing, you also have the hydrogen trap, slush hydrogen tank, liquid hydrogen containment. So things that boost your thrust or delta V, which basically allows you to put on more armor. I will wait on this until I've actually put my drives in, because some drives it doesn't work. Radiator, standard 10 droplet. I've upgraded to saltwater battery, so I have 10 less tons. My drive is going to be the Helicon. This is the most recommended drive for your first kind of long-range attack ship. It is long range, as you can see with the delta V here, but it also has some thrust. This ship is going to be very not good in maneuvering, but that's fine because it's just going to drift forward and just fire stuff at the aliens. You don't need to move around a lot. In my power plant, I'm going to have a level 3 gas core. You could try to get better, potentially worse too, but keep in mind, you need like very nice delta V to get anywhere. And for utility modules, because I want my ship to go... Oh, that's not going to work. Okay, I'm going to have a laser engine then. So I have a laser engine just to give my point defense here a little bit extra boost. I could have also gone for a magazine, another heat sink. There's a bunch of different options. For armor, I'm going to assume we've reached... I'm going to assume we've reached Madamantine. And you want to heavily armor your ship here, because it's going to get shot up. I like just putting a little bit of armor on the side and rear, enough that the flankers have to work a little bit. But the bulk of the armor is going to be over here. And for these early ships, it's kind of difficult to get enough armor. You always want more. And you can find some guides out there that give you breakpoints that people have done a lot of the complicated math to exactly what exactly the breakpoints are to fend off lasers from the aliens. I I use those, but I'm not looking at them right now. But 60 armor is a pretty respectable amount. I'm able to get up to 200 delta V. I still have enough cruise acceleration to actually do things. It's not great. Like, it's going to be really slow to maneuver, but that's okay. It won't die. That's more important. Not dying is important. So this is my battle cruiser for magnetic weapons. It's got point defense to protect itself, and it's got a nice rail cannon to do some damage to those bigger ships. I'm going to call it the Alaska because it's a battle cruiser. And also because it will annoy a friend of mine. There's some controversy on if the Alaska class was actually a battle cruiser or a cruiser. It's something he's written about. I think I'll put a link to his articles on that in the video description. But an endgame version of this would be a Lancer. It's going to use siege coils, a size 4 siege coils. It would have a fusion engine probably. It would have more armor. It would have more point defense because Lancers have more room than just 2 slots. It would have more utility modules, so probably more laser engines, or some of the spikers that boost your engine's power even more. And that's about it. I mean, these are kind of obvious upgrades you would make. You're just making a better version of the Alaska. Oh, one needs a roll too. So this guy, it's long range, but it's going to be going far distances. So interdictor, no, intruder. Yeah, I'll call it. It's an intruder. So the Alaska class, which is my magnetic one, and I need another battlecruiser for lasers. It's going to look very similar. Instead of a nose magnetic weapon, I have a nose laser weapon. So I'm going to go with the minimum kind of ship here, green arc laser, a green phaser, or ultraviolet arc or ultraviolet phasers would work even better. As for hull weapons, again, autocannons are basically mandatory. You have to have one because they bring they bring lots of magnetic weapons, and these are so good against them. And then for my other one, I'm going to use a laser point defense because it's going to synergize with what I'm going to choose for my modules here. I'm going to switch the 40mm to defense. This guy's already defense. I'm going to switch this one to focus. Hold on. Yes, to attack mode. So I want to make sure it's on attack mode. And definitely not like on Guardian. Technically, this green arc laser can shoot as point defense. You never wanted to do that because its attack speed is really low. Where is it? Yeah, 20 seconds. Point defense, 4 seconds. Anything that's not a dedicated point defense weapon is really bad at point defense. You're basically better off letting this guy shoot down the ships that are shooting at you and don't let it try to kill things that are coming at you. Let your point defense handle that. This guy's really bad at point defense. Just stick it on offense. Okay, for utility modules, again, targeting computer, mandatory. I love having ECM, and I have the ECM project, so it will work. And I need a heatsink because lasers generate heat. And my last thing, I don't need magazines because these have no ammo. Well, this is ammo, but it has a lot. It's not going to run out. Laser engine. This will boost my offensive weapon. It gives it an extra 10 megajoules, so it's going to be hitting them for more damage, which means it's going to hit them at longer ranges. Because if it can't even scratch their armor, it's not going to fire. But if it has more power, it'll fire at a longer distance. So it's going to get closer to its actual targeting range. It'll also boost my point defense. So there's some synergy there. Radiators, B-Tim droplet. I've upgraded to saltwater batteries. And again, this is going to be a Helicon with the gas core drive. Adamantine armor with 61-1. And then a ton of propellant tanks to get me up to about 200 KPS, which will make it really easy to go anywhere, pretty much anywhere within the inner solar system, even like the middle outer solar system too. Yeah, okay, so we have really low cruise acceleration for this laser battle cruiser. That's okay. It's not going to try to maneuver. It's a capital ship. It's going to sit there and it's going to blow everything up before it can creep around the side and flank it. And I'm going to call it the Guam class because that was one of the other ships in the Alaska class, and this is really just a variant on our Alaska battle cruisers. An endgame version again would be we switch to Lancers, we switch to green phaser, UV, well really UV phasers, phaser defense turret here, advanced laser engine, some sort of great fusion drive and reactor, more armor. We just sort of scale up this battle cruiser if we're going to the end. And again, this is an intruder. Boom. Okay, so we have our two ships. Now, as for how many we want to build, typically we need more laser ships than magnetic ships. And I'm not sure what the exact best ratio is, but I typically build something between a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio. So for every single Alaska ship, I would have 2 Guams or 3 Guams. So if a potential fleet you might bring, which is what I'm going to be doing for the skirmish that we will be demonstrating on, is 6 Alaskas, so 6 magnetics, 12 Guams. Now I'm going to go out this save. Also going to save it. And we're going to set up a skirmish here. So be right back. Okay, so I've set up the skirmish. I have my 6-12 ratio here. And opposing them is a very large alien fleet. The combat strength looks scary, but it's actually going to be a very winnable fight. We might lose a few ships, but like these guys are not going to be that bad. This would get a lot easier if I had like ultraviolet phasers or siege coil cannons instead of rail cannons, but it is what it is. And we are fighting an offensive fight, so I'm going to fight over Callisto because this is a fleet we sent to Jupiter to start attacking Jupiter. Keep in mind, even if this fleet dies, we just build another one. And you can always just build more fleets. So losing one fleet is not the end of the world. If you're doing a good job defending your orbitals with, say, torpedo ships, losing an expeditionary fleet is okay. You just cost you time. Okay, so let's begin the skirmish. Okay, so in this skirmish, there's a couple initial conditions I want to set. So again, like torpedoes, high wall, and tight, because I want these ships all kind of together. And I want, ideally, the Alaskas in the middle. It's not working. Yeah, they're kind of just randomly spread out. I mean, that's okay. But if you can, like getting your siege coil stuff in the middle, so they're kind of right now facing the their big stuff, can be useful. And I'm going to drop their initial velocity to be really low. The reason for that is I don't want them to get flanked. And so the longer I wait until they are flanked, let's go like 50. Good enough. So they'll be drifting forward really slowly. And so there's less velocity for my railguns. But that gives my laser ships time to chew up their flankers. And that's probably more important. At least I think so. Okay, so we are high wall, we're tight, we have small drift towards them. Okay. Boom. All right, so they're doing some weird angle thing here. They have 2 surveillance destroyers, which wouldn't... I mean, they have 1 in a real fight, but they're always back there. No big deal. We have plenty of stuff to shoot at up here. Now, with the Alaskas, which are my railguns, I'm going to shift-click to select all of them, hit Control-1, and now they're a group. I think in future updates they're going to sort of document this, but like this is a hidden feature you can do. So I'm going to have them target the Titan. Although actually the Titan's not very scary. Mag weapons are just not that dangerous if you have 40 millimeters, and I do. So I'm actually going to go after their Lancers, because the lasers I can't use point defense to defeat. Yeah, the rest of these are all lasers. So like the Titan's going to be the last thing I kill, because you got a lot of mag weapons. But that's okay, because my 40 millimeters are really good at killing them. And then my laser Guams, the battle cruisers, they're going to be picking off stuff. And so if I need to do, say, hey, go kill this thing. I don't want to see this thing flank us. Kill it now. I can tell them to do that. But otherwise, they're just going to sort of target what they think is best. If I see them targeting only the big ships, I'll have to do priority targets for them too. Okay, let's get started. It'll take a while to get in range, so I might cut to that. No, probably not. So we're just sort of slowly drifting towards each other. They're going a lot faster, so they're going to be within range pretty soon. And they should break off to flank any moment now. Here we go. Yeah, so they're flanking. And this is one point where what you can do is say, well, I'm going to... Yeah, the monitors aren't drifting forward, it looks like. It's the destroyers and down. So, is there any small ship he's close to? Yeah, like some of these Corvettes. Because you're over here. So I'll say, kill this Corvette when it exposes itself. And... Is there anything below 900? Yeah, like this. Kill that Corvette when it exposes itself. You can do that sort of thing to get better targeting. Like this Corvette's really making itself a bit open as a target. First snow. Shadow Mountain. So that's the thing you can do, so to make extra sure that they're actually going to go after the things you need them to go after. But I'm not going to bother with that. It's not necessary. And we can see that our rails are coming. I think they're coming for... Wait, what are you targeting? Excuse me, you should be targeting Shattered Peace. What are you firing? Oh, okay. Fine. I have these as attack. So they're firing at something else right now. You probably don't want to do that all the time. But for this case, it's okay. You see lasers are coming in. They're shooting at these things here. I have taken some hits, but I've got plenty of armor. And actually, this being coming in closer means that they're going to start shooting at it with point defense, so that's actually not bad. They should start firing at the Lancer soon. But like this Corvette is almost dead. And yeah, there goes one. And like they've exposed their side, so these shots are hitting their sides or in their rear, which is not much armor. Like this has 4 armor in the side, and so they're getting killed. Hold on. Oh, you're dead. Doesn't matter. Okay. You're dead. All right. Carry on. They're all flanking over here, actually, which is interesting. Oh, you're dead. You know, if they're showing red like that, their weapons are probably toast, so they're not going to be able to do anything to you. And here comes their point. They're mags, but I have so much 40mm that it doesn't matter. Okay, yeah, so now they're targeting... I think they're targeting the right thing. I think. They're firing at this luminous meteor, which is a destroyer. Okay, no. Now they're going after Iron Demon, which I think is the right one. Yes. Yeah, okay. So the mag ones are going here. My lasers are doing great at destroying these flankers. Some of these guys are alive, but they're not really able to do much. And they're just pounding on Iron Meteor there. So their flankers have been pretty much neutralized. Most of them are dead or disabled. And now it comes down to just chewing through their big stuff. So, oh, you took damage, huh? Oh well. Yeah, so they're still targeting this. It looks like it's having trouble getting through, but it should be okay soon. Especially as more ships will die, their point defense will get weaker and weaker. Speed up a little bit. Back goes another one. That one's about to die too, yep. Summer Moon's quite vulnerable. Okay. Their mag's firing, but it's probably not going to do much because we have a lot of point defense. And yeah, I don't have enough magnetics to punch through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everybody. Oops. Okay, so that's group 1. I have to redo this because I overrode it. I'm going to tell them to kill that battle cruiser because that guy's producing some point defense, and each one that dies will make it easier for me to punch through. But even if they're not punching through, they're distracting their lasers from attacking me. So this guy's already showing yellow, so he's going to get down to pretty soon. And their one mag is trying, but not really succeeding to get through our point defense. It'll eventually get through, but by the time it does, we will hopefully have won this. The problem here is the railguns are just not quite good enough. There's too many capital ships to punch through. Yep, we're going to lose this Alaska here. Which means we lose one of our railguns, unfortunately. But yeah, so this fight did not go quite as well as it could have gone. The main problem was we just didn't have enough mag weapons. Or our mag weapons just weren't good enough. But we are going to get some kills on their big ships. Like, this one is disabled pretty badly. Their Lancer's actually down, pretty heavily downed. So it's going to be a messy win where we lose a bunch of ships too. But even if we don't get a full kill here, like, we've really banged up their fleet too. So I'm going to switch over to AI because we're like merging together and we need to like prioritize targets to attack their rears and stuff and flip around. We should be able to get a couple more of these. It's like, yeah, our railguns are actually hitting now because they don't have point. Yep, that's killed it. Luminous Star is in bad shape, and it's dead. Like, they don't have a lot of side and rear armor either, so our lasers are going to be smashing them hard. Yeah, so we're actually going to win here, I think. Another one down. We lost a ship too. Like their giant Titan is still alive. But we killed their Lancer. They want to quit. Yeah. Yeah, so at this point, well, the Titan, where's the Titan? Is that you? No, it's not. Where are you? Oh, you're way out there. At this point, I would just keep going so I can kill off their remaining ships besides the Titan, but I don't think I can get the Titan. And their fleet is kind of strong, because Titans are usually something you see a little bit later than when you're first bringing out your railguns and lasers. But yeah, at this point, revert. You guys go after that. You guys go after that. And I'm going to set them to flip around. I think a bunch of them are, yeah. They're still trying to shoot the Titans. Like, no, don't bother with that, please. Oh, the Titan already escaped. Let's finish off these last couple ships. Everybody kill that. And we got it. So it was a bloody battle. We lost a number of ships. That's kind of what's going to happen when you bring the sort of the minimally viable tech there. But that's sort of how it works. And if you had better magnetic weapons, or a few, or some more of them, enough that I could have actually punched through their point defense for those big ships, then it would have gone better. Like, I would have been able to start just picking them off one by one, instead of that mess where everything sort of merged together and my lasers killed them on their sides, but a bunch of my ships got blown up too. But this is actually a good fight for us, right? Because we just destroyed almost their entire fleet, and we lost 6 ships. We have a bunch of damaged ships, so they could attack us again, and we'd probably lose that fight. But we've dealt them a pretty significant blow to their fleet, and then we can build another fleet. The humans tend to be... The way you win as a human is not by having better tech, it's by just outproducing them. And this is a battle that actually went quite well for us. It could have gone better, of course, but it could have gone a lot worse. I was getting afraid that we were going to just lose our entire fleet, and they would only destroy a bunch of their small ships. But we destroyed everything but their Titan and like 1 or 2 of their small ships that got disabled and just floated off into the distance. So good fight overall. And that's kind of how you would fight it. Now, if you had better tech, it would be easier. This is the sort of the very first sort of fleet that you could have built. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful for you when trying to build up a large fleet battle for your first offensive push. So the next time you're planning that first expeditionary fleet in Terra Invicta, use battle cruisers. You can call them Alaskas if you want to. If you found this video helpful for your study break, please comment, like, and or subscribe so that others can find this video too. Happy not studying or counterattacking the aliens.